In this video, I'm going to talk to you about 4 really common mountain biking myths that I see all of the time. So I think it's going to be really interesting to dive into each one and just dispel them really. Now before I do get into the video, please make sure that you subscribe because then you'll be notified about all future MTB fitness videos. So when it comes to mountain bikes, if you're starting off at say a £500 mark, which will get you an entry-level hardtail, the difference between spending £500 and spending £1,000 on a bike is massive. Like, the difference in the bike you're going to get is absolutely huge. I'll often speak to people who want to get into mountain biking and they tell me they have a budget of £400 or £500, and over the span of a couple of weeks I'll tend to push them up slightly and try and get them to that £900, that £1,000 mark. And the reason is you can go from getting, like say, that entry-level hardtail to a really decent entry-level full suspension mountain bike, which has got, it's got, you know, your 1x11 gears, it's got decent suspension, it's got things that are actually going to work. And when you go above £1,000 to £1,500, £1,500 to £2 grand, £2 grand to £2,500, the difference is really noticeable. So you're going to get a much better spec, you're going to jump on a £2,000 bike versus a £1,000 bike and you're going to really be able to tell. And I'd argue that that'll take you all the way up to £3,500, maybe £4 grand. Like, there's big jumps from that point. Now in my opinion, and I'm sat on an expensive Yeti mountain bike with expensive carbon wheels, as soon as you go beyond that £4,000 mark, there's still a noticeable improvement, but the difference is smaller. So the jump in price will give you much smaller benefits, which is why at the start of the curve you get massive improvements for the amount of money that you spend, but the difference between a £4,000 bike and a £6,000 bike is noticeable, but it's not as ginormous. And then when you go from 6 or 7 grand to 10 or 11 grand, the difference is much smaller. Like, if I was to jump on an entry-level SB 150, which I think is, well, 5 grand, something like that I guess, versus the £10,000 one with the carbon wheels and the top of the range everything, the 10 grand bike is going to feel better, but it's not going to be the same difference between a £500 bike and a £5.5 grand bike to go from a £5.5 grand bike to a £10.5 grand bike. Like, the difference isn't going to be the same amount. So the myth in general really is that the more you spend, it's always better, and it's simply not the case. Like, I'd say the more you spend up to a certain amount, you will see massive improvements, but beyond that you're doing it because you love bikes and, you know, you want the absolute best mountain bike, you want the best components, but you're not going to be shaving minutes off your time. You're not going to be like really noticing ginormous differences on the bike the more you spend. The second myth is that you have to choose a side of what's better, clips versus flat pedals. The flat answer is that neither are better, they're just different for different people, for different situations. So in my opinion, there isn't one better between clip pedals and between flat pedals. They just suit different people. You've got to ride what you feel most comfortable with. If you look at the highest levels of like EWS racing and downhill racing, sure, a lot of riders will be in clip pedals, but then you'll have people like Sam Hill riding flats and absolutely smashing the competition. So you can be amazing on the bike in flat pedals, you can be amazing on the bike in clip pedals. You can be super fit on the bike in flats, you can be super fit on the bike in clips. For 99% of people watching this video, I think it comes down to you as an individual and what you feel most comfortable riding, and also the type of riding that you do. So sure, for cross-country, long-distance mountain biking, a super solid carbon fibre cross-country shoe is going to be better than a 510 flat shoe because it's going to be much more efficient. But if you flip that on its head, for downhill, you don't want to be on a rock hard cross-country cross-country shoe. You want to be on that nicer shoe where you can get your foot off maybe, and if it is a clipping shoe, you want to make sure that it's more enduro, more downhill based. So this myth is just that the flat shoes are better or the clip shoes are better. In reality, it's whatever works for you, so don't stress about it, don't worry. And you can also go back to the other one as well. So if you start riding flats and then decide to go to clips, you may decide to go on flats again for a bit and then to clips. You might have different bikes with different pedals. Don't worry about it, there isn't a right answer. Both flats and clip pedals are good. The third really common myth that I hear is that if you want to get fitter on the bike, you should just ride more and you should forget doing any kind of weights or training off the bike. Now, it always comes up when I put a Facebook post out that's talking about, yeah, you should start lifting weights, you should start doing interval training in the gym maybe or on a static bike. Always I'll get comments on there saying, nope, just ride more, just ride more. And yes, you will get fitter if you ride your bike more. The more you ride your bike, the fitter you're going to be. But you're also going to develop muscle imbalances, you're not going to progress evenly around everything, and you're not going to progress as fast and as far as you could do. If you look at any pro mountain biker, you'll find that they always lift weights and they train off the bike as well. To get as fit as you want to get on the bike, it's 100% beneficial for you to train off the bike by lifting weights or doing bodyweight workouts at home, to do interval training sessions on a static bike or out on your mountain bike, and to ride your bike more as well. Of course you need to do that side of it, but it's an absolute myth to say that you should only ride more to get fitter on the bike. It's just not the case. Myth number 4 is that there's a perfect bike setup that will work amazingly in every situation. And the truth of the matter is that's just not the case. You can't set a bike up to be amazing at downhill and have it win World Cup cross-country races. You can't have the perfect enduro bike that'll be amazing at both downhill and cross-country. Your bike setup and the bike that you ride will vary depending on the terrain that you ride and what you actually want it for. Like my only bike is my SB150, which is a really full travel bike. It's got 170mm up front, 150 at the back, and it's an amazing bike when you're smashing down the downhills and you're going into big boulders and you're on the really gnarly stuff. But when I'm riding chilled out cross-country base trails like the ones near my house, it's too much bike. Like, it's not perfect for those. So it's perfect for the gnarly stuff. It works well on the cross-country style, but that's not what it's built for. So this myth is that there's always the perfect solution that you're out searching for, and if you just keep looking, if you just add a little bit of clicks of rebound, or if you just get your suspension like just right, or if you just drop your tyre pressure, all those things will absolutely make a difference. But you can only tailor your bike to be perfect on one specific trail on one specific day. Like, the difference between wet and dry is huge. So yes, we should all chase improving our bike setup. We should all try and get our bike feeling really great, but it's a myth to think that there's a perfect setup and you need to keep hunting for it, because what's perfect one day won't be perfect the next day, and what's perfect on one trail isn't perfect for another trail. So no matter what you hear in forums, or no matter what you hear from that friend who seems to know everything, there is no perfect setup, there is no perfect bike for every situation. It completely depends on the trail you're riding, on the day you're riding it, and what the conditions are like. I hope you've really enjoyed this video with me talking about 4 really common mountain biking myths that I hear. Yeah, I nearly sent my bike into it. That would have been a good ending to it, into the river. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you subscribe and also click this video, and then you can watch another MTB fitness video. But before you do all of that, I would love it if you would tell me what one common myth you've heard is, and pop it in the comments please, and I'll have a read about that. Other than that, see you next time for another MTB fitness video.